Thank you for coming in for another episode. I'm going to be asking you to do a lot of episodes.
Please.
But I wanted to get you in here because I just filmed a podcast with Joe Galante, who's the head of RCA Records, or was the head of RCA Records. Legend. And he signed me to RCA Records, thereby changing all of our lives forever. And
mine before I existed.
Yeah, but yours still. Before you even existed. And so we got to talking about, you know, what the industry is like these days and how, like, when I got signed to RCA Records made me famous. And now it's like the labels want you to be famous before you even go to them, before you, like, managers, publishers, labels, all of them want you to be famous first. They want you to do the work for them that they should be doing. And he explained it a little bit better to me about, like, the streaming and stuff, and how if they're getting 1 billion streams, you know, those are all songs that they own. And so they're really making the majority of their money off of artists like me. When those songs stream, and then they, you know, they'll get $50 million from having all their artists' songs being played on Spotify and Apple Music and all that. So I was asking him, like, you know, is it worth it? Like, I don't know what to tell my kids, because I know the love for music that you guys have and the talent that you guys have.
Thank you.
And I would hate for you to not be able to realize that in your life and do that for your living. So he made me feel a little bit better in saying that, you know, it ebbs and flows and it changes, and the formula is just wrong right now. The formula is bad, and the formula doesn't benefit the creative people.
No.
Without the creative people, we have nothing.
Yeah.
And I know that you've found a lot of frustration with that, because you are, you know, the middle child. You're mostly an introvert. And so doing TikToks and trying to get yourself famous that way without any help is very, very hard. And it's very hard for you because that's not your personality. That's not Avery's personality. Audrey's personality is to be in front of a camera. And,
1 million cameras all at once.
Yes. And be making TikToks all the time. So I wanted to talk about two things. That, and, you know, what you're thinking about all of that, and where you stand with it, and how hopeful do you feel that, you know, people can realize a career in music these days by doing more than just touring. Touring seems to be the only way that artists make money these days, because we don't sell albums. And then secondly, I wanted to talk to you about, you have a podcast coming out.
I do.
That I'm so excited about.
Thank you.
And so I'm going to let you tell everybody the name and what it's about. And then we're going to talk about the flip side version.
It's the reverse of my podcast.
Yes,
is
exactly.
This podcast.
So why don't you just give the public, you know, 10 or 15 seconds or a minute, and explain to the world who you are.
So yeah, like you said, I'm the middle child. I am very much an introvert, but I love being on stage. I've always loved to sing and do music. And you caught me at a really weird week, because as you know, as my mom, I've been struggling a ton with trying to feel like, is it worth it to do this? Do I love this? I'm already emotional just because it's like been so draining lately, rather than joyful. And like, that's what you're supposed to have as an artist and a creative, is like, you're supposed to feel joy. And when you're so manipulated by an industry that doesn't want to help you or benefit you unless you're going to benefit them, then it's like, well, where do I start and where do I go? But all that to say, yes, that's who I am. I do music. I just released a single. I am hopefully going to
tell everybody the name of your single.
My single is called Mine, and it's a disco Dua Lipa banger.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
You can get it wherever music is streamed or sold. It's called Mine by Olivia Evans. So I want to make sure we get that in.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, I'm just doing the independent thing. I'm not signed anywhere. I don't have a publishing deal. I don't have a management company. I'm going to just be 100% authentic about all of that, because it's true. I'm doing every single thing by myself. And part of that is not me complaining because every other artist has to do that, but it is how you said it's all backwards. And I think I'm a little bit more like I feel strongly about that opinion because I watched your career and hearing your story sounds fake to artists today. Like it sounds like that's not real. That there's no way you walked into a label and sang and they were like, yes, we'll give you an 8 record deal,
7 album deal.
Yeah, whatever. And like it just is unheard of and it doesn't happen anymore. And that's fine. We're going with the changes, but it also is very backwards and very confusing. I mean, I think that the industry, just like the strike that happened with writers in Hollywood, I think that there's a lot of energy going that way in our industry as well, because people are getting fed up. I mean, it's like you get how much credits do you get from being a co-writer on a song? And even if that song is a hit, it's like that, what is that? You know, there's just a lot of things that are misconstrued.
No money to be made.
No.
You can't make a career out of being a musician or a singer-songwriter or an artist in this climate, unless you just tour nonstop. But if you aren't famous, no one's going to come to your shows. So it's just this.
I mean, I can't even tell the people or you how many times I've been looked at and said, and people have said to me, well, you're not, the algorithm doesn't like you enough to even have a manager. Like the algorithm doesn't, you're not doing this right. You're not posting enough. It's all about posting. It's all about the attention. It's all about the eyes. It's not about the music. They've like, the fact that people have actually looked at me and said that is like the most, I think, disheartening thing, because you're like, well, then why am I making music?
And infuriating.
And it
used to be the thing where like, you know, every now and then there would be an artist like Patty Griffin who was just phenomenal and amazing songwriter and singer. And she never made it out of like the Americana bubble, you know, where she wasn't being played on mainstream country radio. She did get a lot of people that recorded her songs, so she made money that way.
Yeah.
Now
and she had a cult following. Like she has a huge cult, you know.
Total cult following. Now it's like everybody is in that situation. And I feel like the labels want you to do their work for them.
Yeah. It's
and
all
they're
backwards.
Still making money.
Yeah.
You know, they're not making as much money as we did, but the way that I heard Joe describe it on the other podcast, you know, makes me think that they are still making good money.
Yeah.
And the labels do have money to throw at an artist, but they're not building artists. They're not building, like RCA was able to build Sara Evans as a household name. Or like the way we feel about John Mayer and how we grew up with John Mayer or Maroon 5, and they are, they're people we know. Now it's like, or we think we know them.
Yeah.
Now it's like one person can pop off on TikTok, get 1 million views, get signed, get on a big tour, and not even know how to put 4 songs together.
No, they don't know how. I mean, not all of them, but I mean, it's like in a way the labels are forming an artist, but in the reverse way, it's not because that they have talent, it's because they have attention. So then we'll take them and put money into them because they have attention, and we can fake, you know, kind of work our magic and make them into what people think that they are, but they're actually not. I mean, I'm not going to like name any names, obviously, but I recently, specifically also, I had a very, very, very frustrating encounter with a label person who basically sat down with me and was like, full blown interview. All it was an introduction. It could have just been, hey, nice to meet you. Great. I'll keep up with your stuff. That's it. Instead, it was, so what are you doing? What's your strategy? Why are you not doing this? Why did you do it this way? You're not doing this right. And then when they ask me, what are you doing? You know, and I explain, they say, well, do you really know why you're doing that? Let me explain it. Hold on, sit back, because you clearly don't know anything. Let me explain it to you.
Right.
And mansplain it and tell you, because you know, they look at me and they think, oh, she's just like an independent artist that doesn't know anything about the industry. When in reality, I have you, and I actually have seen the ins and outs of the industry, and I've been touring for over 5 years. There's a lot that I think people don't know about me, and all that to say, I'm not even the
artist. I mean, that person that was talking to you doesn't have the music side in them. So it takes everybody has a job to do, but nowadays they just want the artist to do all the jobs.
Yeah.
You know,
not to mention they're signing.
We're not wired that way.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention they're LA people signing country artists in Nashville who are also from LA. Like it's just so ironic, the industry, how like fake a lot of it is, and how frustrating that is I actually did grow up in the South. I actually did grow up in the country music world 100%. I actually have every right to do country music, but I'm not, because I'm not going to just use that to my advantage if that's not what I'm passionate about.
Right.
What I'm passionate about is I love pop music, and I love Beyonce, and I love R&B, and I love all of that stuff. And I'm still not going to go stand in a field and dance around and pretend like I know what it is to grow up on a farm. And it's like, I'm still not going to do that.
Right.
But then you have these people coming from LA thinking country is a vibe. Country is just an aesthetic.
Easy thing to get into.
Yeah. And it's so easy. Just put a little snaps on the things and have a country accent a little bit. I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. And then they come in and then they get attention on TikTok and boom, signed instantly. Right. And it is infuriating. And I'm not saying that in a way of that I deserve something that other people have gotten. I'm saying that in a way of like, where is what am I missing here? And what are we all missing?
And what would they do if all social media went away?
I always think about that.
You know, they would have to do a job, and that would be A&R, going out, finding artists, finding the artists who have taken the step to move to Nashville to try to make it in the industry. It's the only industry where there's really the biggest block to keep you out of it. Maybe other than like trying to become a doctor, because I've heard that medical school is just so hard, and they're always trying to weed out, people so that the cream rises to the top. But they're not doing that now. The cream doesn't rise to the top. In fact, the cream doesn't get heard as much. And I'm not, bashing other artists, but I just can't stand the overzealous, like when people get on stage and they're like, and I'm like, you're not really feeling that. That is fake.
Yeah. It's just commercialized.
They so see commercialized.
It as this is country, so I'm going to be this. And it's just, like you said, it's infuriating, and it's been infuriating for you for a while because you've had to deal with it as a woman in the industry, seeing all of these bro country artists come up and do the same thing in a different way. It's like they're not country. They're just taking country in a whole other direction that allows no room for women.
They're making
whatsoever.
They're making country music artists caricatures.
Yep. They think it's a joke.
And it's
not a joke. That's the thing. It's like George Jones and Tammy Wynette, like all of that's not a joke. And the fact that people are taking that and turning it into something satirical and laughable. Yeah. It's like, that's more offensive to artists like you and true country artists that have actually done it than anything else.
That's right.
It's actually humiliating.
It's kind of like, the way the world is right now. There are so many people that don't agree with a lot of the way things are structured and happening, and especially in America. And they are the majority. When I go out on tour and I play for 10,000 people, I see that they are so excited to be at my show, listening to the songs of their lifetime. A lot of them, the songs from their childhood. And if they go to a big sort of arena country show with an artist that hasn't paid their dues, and they're just doing song after song after song after song after song that sounds the same. Mm-hmm. I mean, they could really honestly just be the Grateful Dead and play one song for 2 hours and nobody would even know that they had stopped because all the songs sound the same. It's a joke, and I don't think people like it. I mean, and even when I mention it on stage, you know, everybody's like, boo, 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 like agreeing with me.
Yeah.
Like
that it's been like warped and turned into a joke. Like it's not a joke. Or shouldn't be a joke. But I will say like in the country world, I mean, I have a different opinion because I'm not doing country music, and everybody gets mad at me when I say that because it's like, I'm not going to close myself off from ever doing country music or ever doing.
You'll probably make a country record one day.
Yeah, who knows what I'll make, but that's just not where I'm at right now. But I will say in the country industry, there is a lot of positive change. And I think that, I mean, you just did a podcast with Ernest. I mean, people like that who are actually in it for the music and for the artistry. I mean, I think it's just like re-inspiring people to be like, okay, no, they're actually in it for the right reasons.
I agree totally. But the people who need to be inspired are the suits, the executives. Yeah. They need to be re-inspired. Like they need to all be slapped with gloves. Like, seriously, you know, like, what are you doing? Why are you letting TikTok and Instagram tell you who is good?
It rules their life. I mean, I've literally sat down at meetings with people in high positions and they've said, well, here's our system. And they turn it around and show it to me. And it's like, type in a name. There's all of their information, social media, streaming, views, likes, comments, every single thing from A to Z. Mm-hmm. That's what we use to base who we will sign or not sign. Right. They don't even have to listen. They don't have to listen to a thing. It's literally, it's signing with your eyes, not signing with your ears. Yes. And that's how it's been for over 10 years. I mean, especially since TikTok, but I mean,
yes, it's Bro Country and then TikTok you know, kind of made it to where the real artists, the real writers, the real singers, the real people who, like I said, don't have that TikTok personality, you're screwed. Yeah. I mean, you're screwed. Seriously. And until and unless things change, one of the main things that needs to be changed is how artists and writers get paid, because we don't get paid. We're basically giving our music away for free. Yeah. And we're not getting paid for our music, for our intellectual property that we write. But everybody else is getting their commission off of it. And it's quite frustrating. It really, really is.
And I feel like not to interrupt, but I feel like it gets misconstrued because it's like, well, you're the artist, you're driving a Range Rover and you're so this and this and this, but it's like, you don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes. Like you don't know that, I got over 1 million streams on this song. I made $5. It's like, that's not like, they don't understand that that's how the business works now. Yes. It's all about touring if you want to make money. And to get on a tour, you have to be famous on TikTok and get signed. Yeah. Someone puts you on a label tour. Yeah. That's how it works. And that's it.
Crazy. And that is the only way to make money, is to be on the road. Yeah. And, you know, or find other streams of income, you know,
like session work and writing in town. Hopefully, if you like, publishing deals are still, you know, pretty legit, obviously, because a lot of publishers are like back to like, we're making really good quality stuff. We're not,
and we're only going to hand great songs to the artists. Yes, exactly. That are looking for songs.
So all that to say, I get very negative about it, but I also do feel like change is happening and people want change and the audience wants change as well, not just the artists. And
the audience is ready for change.
I think the audience is ready for legitimate music to come back. Yeah. I mean, where did that, that started with Bro Country, with the whole, let's objectify women in every single song and objectify and make the country lifestyle into this weird, picturesque truck driving, boot wearing thing that people think is cool. They're like, oh, it's an aesthetic. It's a vibe. It's
Here's the other problem. People think that's all there is because that's all they're hearing on the radio. So they think that that is what is current and popular now, because that's all they hear on the radio. So their worlds are like, you know, we are going to get in our truck or our car, turn on the radio, and whatever we hear, that's who's famous. That's who's doing music. And you know that I hate when people ask me if I'm still doing music or I'm still making records, you know, because
still.
Still. I hate the word still.
You're like, no,
you're still pretty.
Stopped. I didn't feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah, I just stopped. I just
stopped doing the one thing I've been doing my entire life.
Right. And one of the greatest loves of my life is, you know, doing music. And we don't want to do all this other stuff, and we don't want, but the thing is, if we're not selling physical CDs and albums anymore, we're not making money. We're giving our music away for free.
I mean, Casey just did a album purchase for like a bonus track or whatever, and it was like instant. Everybody bought that record. And it's like, that's what's helping. Like, that's what it has to go back to.
What do you mean? Explain that to me.
Like, she basically released the record normal for streaming and then said, hey, here's a couple bonus tracks, but you have to buy the record. And people did.
I love that.
Everybody bought it. I mean, everybody that I know has bought it. And it just comes in like a wave form. Like, it's just a really cool way of doing it. But it's like that kind of stuff. She's encouraging people, like,
write that down.
Yeah, seriously. She's encouraging people like, this is my work of art. Here's a bonus track. And I know you guys want to hear it because you love the album, because I can see from the streams.
Right.
So you're going to pay.
So when you say she is telling them they need to buy the record, what are they buying?
They're just basically rebuying the original record plus bonus tracks.
Okay.
That weren't on the original one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Which is brilliant because people love her enough to say, yeah, I'll pay $6 for 2 extra songs. Like,
yet country radio won't play her.
Yeah. It's just, why?
Why?
I don't know.
It stops me dead in my tracks. I'm just like, why not?
Yeah, that's the most frustrating part is like, where are the answers? Somebody give us answers. Like, that's what we need to be saying right now is like, why don't we know?
And solutions.
Yeah.
To how we can get the formula back working towards more fair to the artist. Because in this industry, everybody commissions on gross income and we make net income after taxes. And so the formula isn't set up to benefit the artist, where when I came up, the formula was set up to benefit everybody pretty equally. You know, my label didn't make me sign a 360 deal where they were so greedy that they wanted part of my merchandise and part of my songwriting and part of my touring income. Hell no. But they didn't ask for that because they knew that wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But people will do it these days because, well, if this is the only way I can get on a record label, then I've got to do it.
And that's the thing that also needs to be talked about. Like, if you're a young independent artist, like, you need to be very, very fucking careful about signing your name on any dotted line. Like, very careful, because they will do that. The thing is, it's like, even if you blow up on TikTok and then all of a sudden you're getting a deal, that deal is probably absolute garbage. So you need to be very careful, because they're going to give you all this money and say, here, we'll put you on a tour. We'll give you this money. You'll make an album. We'll do all this stuff. But if it doesn't recuperate at the end, you still are in debt to us to pay us back.
Absolutely. We'll give you tour. We'll give you money to tour. We'll help you, put a band together and maybe we'll even pay for a bus, because you've had 3 million, views on the one TikTok that you did. Well, first of all, that person goes out there, maybe never having been on stage before.
Yeah. Going, danger zone.
What do I do now? Like, how in the world do I do this? They end up hiring, these music directors that then become sort of the boss of you. So that even further takes away any creative thoughts that might come from your own brain, because the music director is saying, do this, do this, do this. So, but I want to change topics a little bit now. You're starting a podcast called Nepo Baby.
I am.
Tell us about that podcast.
Nepo Baby, the podcast, is my brainchild because we were talking about your podcast one day. And I was like, oh, good episode would be to talk about the Nepo Baby thing. Because if you don't know, that became a really huge thing a year ago. And all of these Nepo babies in the industry, in Hollywood and music, all of this stuff came out and basically were defending themselves. But also it was like, oh my gosh, we're getting all this hate because of whatever. And then I was like, wait a second, that needs to be its own podcast. And who's going to do it? Like, why wouldn't we do this or whatever? So I trademarked the term that day and I was like, this is what I need to do for myself right now because it's such a topic that's being talked about so much. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's me interviewing other children of famous people or people in the industry. It doesn't have to be just music. It can be acting, writing, production, anything basically that you're following in their footsteps.
That's right.
And I think it's going to be great. I mean, I hope so. I hope that people approach it in the right way because Nepo Baby is obviously meant to be satirical. It's not supposed to be like, yes, actually I am a Nepo Baby. I get everything I want. It's supposed to be like, you don't know anything about us.
That's right.
And we're the only ones that have had the same kind of childhood and lifestyle, which we'll get into. But I don't know. I think it's a really positive look on something that can be construed to be very negative.
Yeah. Obviously. And you can you got to take a lot of shit sometimes from having famous parents because, I'm sure you grew up, and you've had everything given to you and that's just not true. I mean, definitely for you kids.
Now, especially as adults, it's like, oh my God, like there is so much more almost that you have to do to prove yourself when you are a quote unquote Nepo baby. You want people to take you seriously and you want people to think that you're actually talented, which most of the time you are. Yes. I know already so many other Nepo babies who are extremely talented and deserving of a career. And the analogy I always use is like, if there's a guy who owns a dry cleaner and he's going to retire, who's going to take over? Mm-hmm. Probably his son or his daughter. That's right. Why? Because they've seen it.
They've grown up in it. They know how to do it.
It's passed on to them. It's like, there is absolutely no difference. I have seen your career. I have lived your career. I've watched the ins and outs. I know everything about it to the best of my ability. Mm-hmm. And why not try and do it? Right. And it's what I'm naturally good at. I mean, like that.
Not to mention you're one of the most amazing singers I've ever heard in my life. And
thank you.
Avery's one of the best, guitar players and singers I've ever heard in my life. So it's like, and you both do more than that. You write and produce and play instruments and all that stuff. But it used to be that way all the time. Like, for years, people would take over their family business. And so there's nothing wrong with being a Nepo baby. And I've always told you and Avery, like, there is nothing wrong with you guys being in my band because you're so great. And I basically forced you to come out on the road. I mean, I forced you to do it.
Definitely. Yeah. And it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Worst
I always say, I was like, I cried so hard the first day of rehearsal. I was so stressed, so out of my league. I was 15. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here?
Right.
And after the tour, I was like, okay, well, that advanced me 10 years.
Yes, because you had all the talent, you had the natural harmony. Like, I knew you could do it, just like I knew Avery could do it on guitar. And it did advance you 10 years because I always felt bad that you guys didn't get the opportunity to grow up in small town and in a band on stage and playing in bars, like I did. So I knew that you needed a jump start, like a major jump start into getting that performance experience.
Yeah. And we did.
but other than that, I don't really think that you've been a Nepo baby because if you were a true Nepo baby, I'd be getting you a record deal. I'd be getting you, all the, I don't know how to help you.
That's the problem. You always, if we look for advice from you, you're like, it's just so, you're basically what you still say is, well, why don't you just go sing for a record label? It's like, that is just unheard of. Not even a thing. Not even It's just not realistic.
Because they're going to look at your numbers, and also what kind of numbers are they looking for? Millions?
Yes. Millions.
It's ridiculous. That's their
stardom.
job.
Yeah.
That's their job to make, because your job is to sing great, write great songs, produce great music, be beautiful, dance, perform. That's your job.
Yeah.
The suits and the people at the labels, and even managers and booking agents and publishing companies, that is their job, to take
100%
raw talent and make it famous.
Yeah.
And then everybody wins.
Yeah.
But just to rely on a social media app.
It's all it is.
And your numbers could be fake.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking about how TikTok, the whole ban situation that's happening right now. And I've thought a lot about this, like for creators and people like Audrey and people like that. Of course, I see that as a bad thing because that does create a lot of careers. It does create a lot of revenue for people like that. But on the other hand, I wonder what would happen to the industry, the music industry.
I wonder if it would make it better.
That's what I wonder. And I don't want to say that I'm for TikTok being banned because I'm not, but I'm very curious to see what that would look like.
Because they would have to just know, like, we're taking a risk on this person. No one's ever heard of them, but we're going to do our jobs and make them famous.
Yeah, A&R.
That's the way it's
A&R.
always been.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine if, let's just say, like, Dick Van Dyke, he was passed over, and all of his amazing physical comedy, facial comedy,
musical comedy,
everything that he was or is. If he had been passed over, or if Patsy Cline had been passed over because she didn't have the socials, that's fucking ridiculous. It's like,
it's wild.
We wouldn't have had Dick Van Dyke or Patsy Cline. How many people are we overlooking now? You're one of them.
Thank you. But I feel bad. Independent artists, like, you just kind of go with it until you can't handle it anymore.
Well, it's not something that you get rich off of anymore.
Yeah. No.
Unless, you're an anomaly or you're Morgan Wallen, or, just like something about you hits so hard. But for Morgan, I believe it's his music. That gives me a lot of hope.
Totally. And it's also being like hitting it at the right time and getting lucky and having the right people around you at the time. But I don't know. I think it's really interesting, and I don't mean to be so negative about it because I don't 100% think that the industry is rigged. That's not what I'm trying to say.
The formula is wrong.
The formula is completely wrong. And I don't know how labels and high up people aren't recognizing that.
I agree.
And aren't considerate of that.
I also feel like I see these younger artists, and I'll run into them at events, and I feel like I can see that they're not happy. Like, I was very happy. I was always mad at country radio because they always resisted playing me and always gave me a hard time. But I feel like these younger artists are just flat out exhausted and sick of it, and having to make, TikToks and release 10 TikToks a day, and knowing that that's not what you want to be doing. You want to be making music and touring.
Yep. It is exhausting, and it's definitely going to be something that has to change. I think it has to change. I don't know how it's going to change, but I think it has to, and I think it will, and I have hope that it will. But regardless, until then, I guess my age group, I always say, like, I really wish I wasn't like born in this time for the fact of what I'm choosing to do with my career.
Right.
Because it is so different and so hard. but I have hope. And there are like weeks or days where you just want to give up 100%, obviously, but you can't do that because you have to just show resilience and show that like, you're not going to beat me down, and I can still be creative and go back to the basics.
And God wouldn't have given you all this talent if he didn't have a plan for it. So he does have a plan for it. It's just, you know, being patient and
of course,
staying in the word and staying in prayer. And
that's also the other thing I wanted to say is I'm not saying that you should be able to just go from posting one TikTok or writing one song and then boom, you're on an arena tour like Dua Lipa.
Correct.
That's not what I'm saying, nor is it what I'm saying I deserve, especially. I'm saying the little things of
a fair shot.
Yeah, a fair shot. I mean, exactly. It's just
a fair shot with like, this is me, this is my voice, this is how I look, this is how I talk. This is me on stage. Not this is me on a TikTok that I manipulated so much to make it go viral. And now you're going to sign me.
You have to be more of like a marketing person to get famous.
And that's not
now.
our brains.
No.
Creative people don't have that brain. Or if you do, you've learned it over the years. But basically all we want to do is just sing and make music and be stars, but be stars because we love of our love for music and wanting other people to hear our music. That's it. It's not out of a, you know, I want to get rich and famous and that's the only reason to do it. But I do think because of the TikTok stuff and how the formula is today, a lot of people do
want that.
Yeah. Just for that. Not for the love of the art.
Definitely.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about your podcast.
Thank
Nepo
you.
Baby. It's going to be amazing. And I want to be on your podcast. And
we'll do a reverse Nepo episode.
Yeah, we'll do reverse Nepo.
Or like your side on what it was like to be
the
mom of a Nepo baby.
Well, because with me, I was just trying to hang on for dear life.
Yeah.
You know, like raise 3 babies.
And raise us normally. I mean, I'm not
and
saying we had
normally.
Totally.
Yeah, I just felt like, you know, I want to give these kids the best life I can possibly give them, but it didn't dawn on me until later, like, oh shit, they need to be on stage.
Yeah.
It
didn't happen until we were like 14 or 15. You're like, hold on, you need to be doing this.
Yes, exactly.
To start. Yeah.
And I do believe it is going to happen, but I wish there was something I could do to change the formula, or that the formula will just naturally evolve again and make it more fair to where everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that you feel change is coming, and obviously change needs to happen, but what would you say the people listening or watching could do who maybe like didn't realize that this was happening? What can they do to help independent artists and people like you trying to make it?
Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I mean, I think a way to help change happen is for listeners like you guys to kind of understand that it's not what it looks like. And when you see those artists on TikTok that maybe aren't legit, maybe are legit, just always be weary of like I don't want to say don't feed into that, because that's not true. A lot of artists on TikTok are extremely talented. They are. And I'm not discrediting that. But maybe just understanding that the industry is not what you think it is, and that, I don't know, like how Casey did, maybe just putting in the effort to pay for an album for someone, or check out new music rather than what's most popular on TikTok. Maybe go on Spotify to like very underground stuff that you can't even find, you know, just stuff like that. I mean, maybe just as listeners and music appreciators, which your fans are 100% music appreciators, obviously, and they're very loyal to you. But I think maybe just understanding that, you know, there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people don't know about.
Right. And you know how like if you're not happy with, you know, something political, they're always like, call your congressman and call your senators. Yeah. Well, I would say one thing that the fans could do would be to call the radio stations and say, we are tired of only men and bro country. We demand that you play more women or we're going to stop listening to you.
Or new stuff too. Like new, you know, new music.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Not just new young artists, but new music. Like you.
Yeah.
The solution is to play mom's music.
Right. That is the whole solution. That's the whole reason for this podcast. No, like, yes, that's a great point. Play new music from artists that are like a part of your family. Mm-hmm. So like if John Mayer puts out a new record, or if Martina puts out a new record, or Trisha Yearwood, or Sara Evans, listen to it. I mean, play it. Country radio, play it. Play the new music. Even if we don't have the capability or the label to take us out on a radio tour. Mm-hmm. But what country radio is trying to do is leverage their power, you know, against you. So they have all the power in the world. They know that if they play your music, you're going to become rich and famous. Yep. And so they know that, and they like to use that, and they like to get free stuff and free concerts, you know, which I've done a million of for country radio.
That's insane.
But you would think that there would be more loyalty there to where they would play like, oh, Sara Evans has a new album out. We're going to do a Friday night special, and we're going to play the whole record.
Yeah. Any change like that.
Any change like that would be positive.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Well, baby doll, thank you for coming on the podcast again. And thanks for wearing a bow, because it's so cute and it reminds me of when you were a little girl. I guess
bows are in now.
Well, I used to put bows in your hair when you were little, and it was so cute. So
that's what I'm trying to be.
Whatever God has planned for your life, which I know is massive.
Thank you.
Because he wouldn't have gifted you with all that you have. I know that it's going to happen, and we're going to figure it out. But I do hope that podcasts like this and conversations like this encourage the people in the upper echelons of the music industry to say, yeah, you know what, we're really screwing people over. You know, musicians that have dreamed about it their whole lives, and they've moved here from Indiana, and they want to, you know, try to make it big, and you're going to tell that person, we won't even meet unless you have 1 million followers on TikTok. No.
It's just backwards. It needs to be fixed. Backwards.
It needs to be fixed.
And I think it can be.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too. This is great.
It was great. Awesome.